listening to Superpower Creatives on the Superpower Up podcast. The show that sparks the superpowers of musicians and artists to ignite change.
All the little men, will they get the chance to come back?
Hello, this is David Delmar, your host of Superpower Creatives, and you're listening to our episode, Musicality and Research on Consciousness. I believe everyone is a creator, and it's this inherent birthright that's the source of our superpowers. Stepping into this personal authority is scary, though. The show celebrates creatives that stay true to who they really are, making a living using their creative superpowers. The stories they share will excite and inspire listeners to do the same, making positive change in the world. It's my extreme pleasure and joy to introduce our guest for today's show. He's a person who I can relate with just in terms of similar things he's experienced in life, and he is, in my opinion, a musician's musician. And here's the reason why. Let me tell you a little bit about him. J.J. McGuigan, he was a finalist on VH1's Save the Music Songwriting Contest, having also won other awards, the singer, songwriter, and guitarist. And this is what I love. He's about just the whole life experience and being transparent. He's also providing leadership in areas really desperate for leadership, like mental health. And he's an advocate in this area, in this arena, if you will. He's been drumming since he was 13. A little bit later, he decided to pick up the guitar. And at age 20, he started writing songs. And he writes amazing songs, folks. He attended Newman University and the renowned recording school, Full Sail University. Songwriting is where JJ's main focus and passion are aimed at really bringing an emphasis on lyrical creation. He's also appeared on numerous radio shows, and his music has been heard on hundreds of stations around the world. He lived in Austin for a short little while and now finds himself back in his roots in his hometown in Wichita, Kansas. But he's currently working on a follow-up EP that's due to be released sometime this year, and his latest single, In All Honesty, is on both the Roots Music Report and New Music Weekly airplay charts, so be sure to check it out. The lyric video for the song won an LA Music Video Award for Best Lyric Video in 2018. That's outstanding, man. I love that kind of stuff. JJ, he's nominated for 2 International Music and Entertainment Association Awards, added to his accolades. For more information on J.J. McGuigan, visit him at www.jjmcguiganmusic.com. J.J., hello, man. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, man. It's great to be here.
Absolutely, it is. Well, it is a true joy to have you here, and I want to just thank you, so much for being here, but also for everything you're doing with your talents in music, and as a mental health advocate. I mean, that's truly important work that needs more people like you, for sure. That is for dang sure, man. So thank you for doing all that you do in the world for people to help them.
Most welcome. It's I think something that's continually needed, and anybody that's been through it, like you and I, we can. Whether it's one person or many, it doesn't matter. Just being ourselves and being open, we can change a life. So it's important to me to do that, and I'm sure you as well. And just to kind of expand our awareness of the whole mental health issues and everything.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well said, brother. Well, today we're talking about our show, Musicality and Research on Consciousness. In particular, how JJ's pursuit to find answers to life's questions have brought meaning and purpose to his own life and his music. So, JJ, how we'd like to open up our show with everyone is the same question. It's probably the obvious one, but here it is. What is your creative superpower?
I'd say it could be insight. Because mainly what I specialize in is what I feel I'm best at musically is the lyrical content, and I try and write insightful lyrics, and sometimes we don't always do that, but sometimes I try to fun song too. But I feel like when I sit down to write and I allow enough creative space in my mind, I can gain some insights that can be used lyrically to influence, and everything. And it's and I'll share something with you. It's not my ears. It's definitely not my ability to hear sound. I was pretty much in college when I first started taking guitar. I was tone deaf. I've gotten a lot better since, but it was just mainly play by feel and play by key. I kind of needed to know what key you're in order to play with you, and I could do that fine. But as far as just playing by ear, that's something I could not do. So it was always just the focus was mainly on lyrics. But it's funny how it works out in that what you lack in one area, someone you work with might have that area down pat, and that's what it is, especially with who I'm working with now, Brian Elwick, my best friend and everything, and we're working on an EP together and everything, and his ears are phenomenal. Like if he hears an out-of-note tune by any millimeter, it causes his nervous system to go out of whack almost. It's so
highly tuned to it.
It'd be intuition for me.
Well, what is that collaboration like? I mean, to have to surrender, a part of yourself when you're tone deaf, to get into where you're at today, where you obviously have improved that skill, and with the help of who your best friend you just mentioned. What's that collaboration process been like for you as a creative and as someone who's intuitively guided? Well,
it's been almost a relief and also a growing experience, because I've grown a lot, like you said, working with him, as far as my ear ability to go to play by ear and to hear, melodies and stuff better than what I have. But it's kind of taken the pressure off, just because I realize I can, write a song out singer-songwriter style on acoustic and everything. And he can do that himself as well, but I can take what I've given to him and what I give to him, what I've created, and he can come up with he can tweak it, come up with something that just to me just sounds more full or more on point. And because I try and leave a lot of space with the guitar and everything to where there's room to work with. I try not to bog it down with too much. So it's a lot of just basic to somewhat, immediate, elaborate progressions, but there's enough room in there for him to operate and work with. And so that's kind of what our roles initially were defined as, was, I'd primarily handle the lyrics and he would handle the melodies on the guitar. And what we've kind of found is that we've grown so much learning from each other that we've kind of meshed a little bit. It's far in a good way, as far as I'm now becoming a little bit better with melodies and all that stuff and guitar work. And I think I'm a solid guitarist for a guy who writes songs. And
I think you're too, man.
and it's grown is the thing, is that we just grow off each other, and he's become a pretty good lyricist too. And so that's kind of what. And you're right, it is a surrendering process. Some guys want to do it all themselves, and some can. Some legitimately can, but a lot of them, they might fall short to the potential of what their songs could be by just wanting to control every aspect of the sound and of the music and everything. I'm kind of the mind that if you're around a group of people, studio musicians, a producer, in my case, a co-writer, Brian, that you trust, really trust them, really take down what they have to say and go with it. And that doesn't mean you don't question it. If you do question it, it just means you're open to any ideas that are flowing in that creative process. And so, my approach is to be open, but yet have a plan of what I want it to be as well. And we both have a pretty good plan of what we want this next EP to be. So hopefully we just continue to grow and support each other in that way.
Well, I love that. I mean, it really is a true testament to just the human spirit. And I mean, how when you bypass the ego and that sort of need to be right, kind of almost, and you say, hey, let's be more about like, what can we creatively do as creators, as we together co-create and create something that can really have an impact and for us as art, for you as artists, but also for the people that get the joy of hearing that creation. And I love it. I love the way you shared that, because I think for anybody listening, including myself, it's a really valuable thing to hear how you have detailed really what that process is like when you decide to finally, in your case, it was kind of in a way forced upon you, and with the sense of just, having that tone deaf part of what your situation was. But, I mean, I certainly had some things forced on me that, that were of a different nature, but that if they hadn't happened, my life would be so much different. So it's funny how life, has its plan for things too. So
definitely. It does find a way of working itself out, doesn't it?
It certainly does, man. It certainly does. Well, all right. So we've been talking with J.J. McGuigan today about musicality and research on consciousness. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to continue our short journey with JJ and how you out there listening can implement some of the things he's sharing today. So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
We're back. You're listening to Superpower Creatives, and today we're talking with J.J. McGuigan on our episode, Musicality and Research on Consciousness. So, JJ, I'd like to springboard off of where we left off, and I want to ask you, and I want to talk to the side of you that is the inquisitive, the curious, the intuitively guided part of you that wants to know about the life answers and life questions and, consciousness, and how with your mental health advocacy that through your experience you are putting out to the world to help others. Tell me a little bit about what that journey's been like for you.
Well, ultimately, it's been a spiritual journey of traveling through, my own conscious existence that happens to be here in a body right now. And, some of the things that I've learned so much is that, you can have, a quote-unquote brain disorder, a mood disorder, anxiety disorder, and it is scientifically proven that it affects different areas in your brain that get amplified and everything. And as well as but our conscious awareness and our ability to kind of be aware that we're aware and to retrain our brain, and it essentially rewires our brain to where we're more in a better state, more in a state we want to be in, as opposed to whether it's, mild discomfort to extreme, turbulence. We do have, as people and conscious beings, have the power to help ourselves in a sense, and not, be, at the whims of just whatever our brain biochemistry feels like doing that certain day. We can kind of take that power back. And really for me, I do believe that, medications can help. I also believe that shouldn't be the only thing that you do. Certain things like, just going back to, my superpower, my musical superpower being intuition. I think, everyone has a sixth sense. It's not one of the five, but it's that sixth sense, that gut feeling that if we were to listen to it, and listen carefully, we could find our own answers as well as help other people, and realize that sometimes we need to be helped by other people, and that can be hard, and that can be that's such a journey, but it's well worth doing because you learn so much about yourself and other people. You learn you can trust other people, maybe not everybody at that given time, but it's been one of just learning all these life lessons, starting at age 16 and going up until now, and until the day I leave this body. It's going to be that way. And and I just think, music plays such a big part in that, and helping me express myself and possibly reaching other people, and just kind of having that be one of the vehicles that I'm riding, right now and everything.
Yeah, and I want to ask you this, because I'd really like to kind of combine those two things, the consciousness awareness and music. And I want to ask you this question, JJ. Mm-hmm. How have you experienced, as a singer and a songwriter, how have you experienced music and the language that is, the musicality language of music? How therapy-wise has that contributed to your pretty strong recovery with what you have endured and experienced and all the work and research you've put in? How has music been somewhere at the forefront of everything that's allowed you today to be an advocacy in this particular field?
I think it's been both at the front and at the back, as far as it kind of surrounds it all. It's always there with me. And being able to, the therapeutic side of music, goes beyond just, to me, emotional or mental release. It reaches our core, our spirit, our, whatever you want to call it. It's our part of our consciousness awareness. And it really, I write music. I found this formula to be the most therapeutic and the most beneficial for me and others. I write music that I would want to hear, or that I hear in my heart. And when I start to write, I'm not concerned with, is this going to be a hit song? Is this going to be what? Is it going to be this or that? I just start writing, and then all of a sudden I feel connected to whoever's going to hear this song, per se. You just feel a sense of connection that music brings you when you're playing it at any level, at any stage of musicianship. When you're playing it, you can't help but feel connected, and you don't have to necessarily be in front of a crowd of, however many people. You can just be alone, writing a song, in your basement, your room, wherever that quiet place is. You write a song, and all of a sudden a feeling of connection comes over you. And to me, I know that what I just wrote and what I just played was meant to be, whether it was just for me or it turns into a song that, a lot of people hear. I was meant to do that because of it's hard to explain just in words, because of the feelings I get, and the therapeutic value and the possible therapeutic value that others may get. Because to me, there was no greater therapy when I was in the darkest times of my depression and anxiety, that music spoke to me in no way anything else, any other thing else could. And it went from anything from angry, grungy, yelling, screaming, to the most beautiful ballads you'd ever hear, and that I would listen to from these bands and groups and acts and everything. And my whole goal was to somehow repay that and do for others what those musicians did for me.
Absolutely. I want to touch on that a little bit. How would you say that your emotions play into how you approach songwriting through the way you just shared?
I would say that it starts with an emotion to an extent, or it starts when my mind and my emotions kind of align up, and really from that is a sense of, okay, I've something here. I might not have a word yet, or I might only have one line, but it struck me. it struck me in a way that, isn't intellectual. It's a feeling. And when I have that feeling, I know to take that and write it out as long as I can through lyrics and music, and just trying to get what I can down without just forcing too much, and just letting it be and realizing I don't have to think so much to write a song. You think, you're naturally going to think some, then you got to clear your mind and allow that insight and intuition to come through, and that musical energy to flow through you and just kind of take over in a sense. And in a sense, you just kind of get out of the way, but it's not a detached thing. It's such a release, and that you're able to feel emotions without being afraid of them, without thinking you shouldn't feel them. You're just open to exploring them and everything. And to me, that's what music is able to do.
Unlike anything else, really, it has the power to do that. Certainly from my experience, over anything else. And it's like the invisible, powerful force that it's kind of like that invisible, powerful force that is going unrecognized, even though everybody listens to music and it's part of everybody's day. It's like this powerful entity that is right in front of everybody, and they're just like looking right at it, and they're not even having that awareness of that powerful source that is right there all the time.
Yeah, it's almost taken for granted in a sense.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
It is taken for granted. I agree. I think it is very much. Let me ask you this, JJ. Insight and intuition, as your creative superpower, why do you do what you do with your superpowers?
I think it goes back to just knowing how music affected me and how it still does. And it's just, to me, it's I believe it was Picasso that said, your first step in life is to find out what your gift is. Your second step is to give your gift away, by just giving it to others, sharing it and doing all that. And, I first knew that I wanted to do music at an early age, and wanted to express myself in that way. And when I got to a point where I thought it was something I could give, that's what I've been trying to do. And it hadn't always been easy. I mean, there's still days of anxiety and depression and whatnot. And so it's still a battle. And it's not necessarily a battle that between good and evil, right and wrong. It's just an ongoing learning process, and an ongoing growing process. And I think just taking it day by day and just seeing what the day brings is key as well. And just knowing that my insight is my gift and music is a part of that as well. And so it's just kind of something that I feel I have that I want to give.
Well, and I mean, that's beautiful, because it's just allowing evolution to continue to evolve. And, on stage, you're evolving out loud, or even, like you say, when you're in the private confounds of your creative space, or whatever room it might be in where you live, you're evolving out loud for, those that are there, and energy presence, and the spirit of life and everything like that. And I love the matter of fact and, realistic, real life way you present things, because I think that's helpful for others to hear how they can relate to your, to their similarities with what you've shared, and how they're experiencing, life and depression and anxiety, and, what sometimes feels like the walls of life are kind of moving in on you, because life wants to do that. And it's our power to decide to do something to sort of, in a loving but affirmative way, push back and say, no, that's not, that's not going to be something you do to me. You might get across, that might be something you get away with others, but not this person. And it's a powerful thing to share that transparency. I think is a huge part of that step forward, for sure. What have been what's a milestone in your career that you can share with us, JJ, that I think that the listeners would probably enjoy hearing?
I think as far as any type of
any highlight of your life, of your career, of music recognition, of somebody who's come up to you and said that your music affected them or their family member in a certain way, something that just, and is kind of pops up in your thoughts right now as we're talking about it.
It would have to be there's a song that I wrote called Letter that's on the latest EP, Dissociative, the one that's out now with In All Honesty on it as well. And the producer, who I'll give you a little background to him, grew up in Wichita, then went out to LA in the late 70s to do producing and engineering. And he's ended up doing some very big acts, Guns N' Roses. He did Megadeth. He did 2 Bob Dylan albums, named Acacia Ryan. And he told me, he always praised my songwriting, but not in a praise type of way, but he always just said, hey, you've got something here, go with it. And he said that song Letter, I bet you there's a lot of people that would listen to that and feel the emotion and who could not shed a tear at that song. And he doesn't hand out too many compliments like that, so that I took that to heart, because he's such a genuine guy that's, and everything. And so he actually produced the album, the EP Dissociative, and that had always stuck with me as anytime I'm feeling down about songwriting or anything, or it's just not coming to me at that given moment. I can think of that and a few others that can lift me out of that, but that's definitely a highlight. Because that happened before the EP was released or anything, or anything else that happened with it. I hadn't done anything with it, but he gave me that boost of confidence to always do it and see where it can take me and help hopefully reach others.
Yeah, well, and those moments are so important to to help that mindset when it's trying to really test you and have you forgetting, how amazingly talented you are and how powerful you are with your innate abilities, and to have people who have had, first of all, just that type of accolade in their own career, but to share, in a way that they only do when they feel, inspired to do so is a big deal for sure.
Totally is. Yeah.
And, it's awesome that he produced the EP, and I can't wait to take a listen to that. And it brings me to this thought or this question. What's a current project? I know you're working, you've got a couple things you're working on. What's the current project right now that you're working on that excites you, whether it be with the music or with your advocacy, with mental health awareness? What's something right now that's, that you can share, or that you're able to share, that's in the works that the people might like to hear about as well?
Well, I do some volunteer assistant coaching with Newman University, where I graduated in the men's basketball, and that's a good place to reach young kids and young adults, I should say, at stages when they're still learning, still just to kind of be a positive influence in their lives. And that the head coach that I was with there for about 6 years just retired, and a good friend of mine took over the head coaching job. He was the head assistant. And so, but that head coach, Mark Potter, is a big time mental health advocate. He ended up suffering depression, I believe, in 2006, and missed almost the entire season, was almost forced to resign, but got to keep his job, and he's gone on to flourish now as a motivational speaker, and everything. And I've gone to a few of his talks. He's very good, very, very much appropriate for his audience wherever he's speaking, and so that kind of helped nudge me into being an advocate and being able to speak when I can, and just kind of being out there with it. And that was just a great experience, and still is, because I'm still able to do it, and it's something that's kind of balances out music, because it's it's a sport I love and everything, and so it just kind of, it's something I'm also excited about as well, definitely.
Well, it fulfills you in a way that, like you said, it balances out what the music that you create for for obviously your own pleasure and enjoyment and creative expression, and those who get to hear it, but also being able to have an experience of expressing in a way that is outreach and directly helping out people in the capacity of an actual, like, in-person guys, or just kind of sharing something in common like basketball, and hey, they know a little bit about your story, a little bit about coach's story, and they share a little bit about their story. Now you've got a connection, and that's a powerful place to be. Definitely is. I think the most important thing in the game of basketball, coaching-wise, is the relationships. Yeah. It's not necessarily the X's and O's, not by any stretch. Those are important only relatively. But the relationships are what drives a team, and what will determine whether or not your years of success, which has nothing to do with wins or losses. Those are who knows. But if you've got strong relationships, you got bonds for life, and that's what it teaches me, is to work on building relationships. But they take time, in a sense. You got to work up to them, and you got to build trust over time. But yet, it's about taking the time to get to know a person. Absolutely. And I love sport. Like, I'm a big sports nut. I just love sports. I find it entertaining, but it's those stories. It's the personal stories, and it's the stories of teamwork. And, it's just that sports is, like, I think the perfect analogy for life. And I mean, like, for basketball, there's five people, and you really have to trust your teammates to be where they're going to be for you to effectively run the game plan. And I think that's a perfect example. Totally is. Well, this has been pretty awesome, and but before we close out the show, let's remind listeners where they can go to find out more about you, JJ. You can go to jjmcguiganmusic.com. It's JJMCGUIGAN music.com, and check me out on there. There's a comments section. There's a email section. You can hit me up with anything you want to know. If you got mental health issues and you feel you need to maybe just talk to someone that you don't know, which would be me, just someone that you can, that you're not going to have to face the next day and feel embarrassed about, but just someone that can be someone that'll listen to you and maybe offer you a piece of advice. But I'd be more than happy if someone's got something they need to share, they can share it with me there. And that's the best place to get a hold of me, though. Well, I mean, and for those listening, I mean, that's a really awesome, place to go and share when you might be having some stuff going on. And, JJ saying, hey, listen, I know what that's like. I've been there, and I'm still there some days. And listen, we're all in this together. Why don't you share it with me and see if we can find some good common ground to help you out a little bit. And I love that. And folks, also, JJ's music is really, really good. I advise you to go check it out. I think you'll be very happy you did. And so thanks once again for joining me here today. JJ, it's just been a distinct pleasure to co-create with you today in this space. And I just want to acknowledge you once more for your powerful music and the really important work that you're doing as a mental health advocate. I mean, there's so many reasons every day we hear about people who are suffering that, anyone that takes a stand and does something to help with something like depression that can really help people is truly a great role in so many different levels. So just want to once again thank you for stepping into that space and being an authority and a leader to help. Pleasure's all mine, man. This was an awesome time to share and to grow as well for me as well. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to of course thank the listeners as well. And until next time, be bold, stay true, and unveil your creative superpowers.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the Superpower Quiz today.
To the world, I get up and I show